I'm going to announce before the start of this meeting, we will be going into executive session pursuant to 61.8101G. That's in regard to discussions between a public agency and a representative of a business entity and discussions concerning a specific project. If open discussions would jeopardize the siting, retention, expansion, or upgrading of the business. We will be going into executive session at the end of our regular meeting, and then we'll reconvene to end the evening. But before we get into the business part of our meeting, we've got a special group of people to recognize this evening. And it's going to get up and let you take a look at this fine group of athletes and students, and coaches and support. But I've got with us this evening members of the Bethlehem Banshees basketball team. And as you know, they sort of ran the table this year, starting out with a victory in the All-A championship, Class A All-A for the smaller schools in Kentucky. Then they won our 5th region and advanced to the Sweet 16. And I think that's the second time in, 3 years that you all have advanced to the Sweet 16. So that's something that not a lot of schools do, and certainly schools from a city like Bardstown. We're very, very proud of their accomplishments. And so to recognize that accomplishment this evening, I've got a proclamation to read and present to Coach Clark and his team. And it reads, whereas the Bethlehem Banshee High School basketball team members are Zabi Smalley, Kenzie Clayton, Amelia Hodges, Ella Thompson, Ashlyn Miles, Carly Thurman, Hallie Hurst, is that okay? Hallie, okay, I got that right. Casey Spalding, Tessa Miles, Chloe Young, Emma Filiatro, and Bailey Bishop. And whereas the Banshees were guided by head coach Jason J. Rod Clark and assistant Trey Dugan and Jamie Hodges, along with coaching staff Randy Clark, Hayden Clark, and team parent partner Lacey Miles. And whereas the Bethlehem Banshees defeated Walton Verona 53-43 in the Class A championship, and whereas the Banshees beat Nelson County 95-61 in the semifinals of the 19th district tournament, and won the district championship with a victory over Bardstown by the score of 58-39. And whereas they defeated Central Hardin 67-39 in the 5th region championship game, and attended the state Sweet 16 for just the second time in school history, winning their first round game over Bullitt East 70-65 before falling to Marshall County 51-38.
51.
Okay, they got this reversed. Sorry about that. 58-51. I read it. We have to clean that up. And so whereas the Bethlehem High School girls basketball team theme this year was believe, they had to believe that they could achieve great things in order to be successful, and they certainly were, with an amazing 26-5 overall season record. And whereas the Bethlehem alumni and the citizens of Bardstown wish to express their heartfelt congratulations to the Bethlehem Banshee basketball team. Now, therefore, I, J. Richard Eaton, Mayor of the City of Bardstown, do hereby encourage all Bardstown residents to join in the celebration of the 2021 Bethlehem Banshees girls basketball team. So congratulations, it's my pleasure to present this resolution to you all, excuse me, proclamation to you all.
Cool.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
I'll get you all some signed copy.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you all. Sorry, I hope I didn't hold y'all up too much.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, thank you, guys. Thank you.
Proud of y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Mayor.
See you, Coach. Thank you. Hi. Thank you all for letting us do that resolution on behalf of Bethlehem this evening. It's quite an accomplishment for any high school team to make it to the Sweet 16, and certainly to do it 2 out of 3 years is very special. The Banshee girls athletic programs have been on a roll, both in soccer and basketball these last few years. So we're proud of them. The next item on our agenda, we'll go on, is a historical review board. We have the final plan, I guess, from this hearing we had on the appeal from Roger Carey and Joe Goldstein on the marketplace signage. So we have an amended COA 1507. Earlier this evening, I wasn't sure we were seeing a sample of the signs, but I'll let you all tell me if you all can see it on yours or not.
I
Yeah,
have
looks
it
like-
there.
Okay, looks like they've got it. So, and Rashay, you jump in if I misstate anything. As you all remember, they did an appeal of the HRB hearing, and then we listened to that appeal back in October and concluded at the end of the discussion that we would allow them to have some signs, and had 8 12 by 18 signs, including 2 on the north side of the marketplace building and 6 on the east side, where most of the parking, a lot of the parking is. So it was concluded that the signage needed to be approved by both Rashay and the council. So they've got 2 examples of the language they want, which Rashay, I think this language is suitable for those type of signs in the historic district. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay. The sample you see is not the exact size that the HRB guidelines allow, but it does have the language and probably the style of the sign. The sign has to be 12 by 18. This appears to be maybe a bit wider and taller than that, but anyway, we'll make sure that we let Mr. Carey and Mr. Goldstein know that the size needs to be 12 inches by 18 inches. Does the council have any preference to whether, normally this would be HRB decision, but the hearing requires both the council and the shade to sign off, whether we prefer the red accented sign or the black accented sign? Does anyone have a preference there, or Rashay, do you? They currently have red, so I don't know if that's what their preference would be.
Mayor, we could also just approve it and let, Mr. Carey, Mr. Goldstein, if we're approving the language, we could defer to them and let them choose what color they prefer. I would note there's a typo and tenants is spelled incorrectly. We just might want to alert them to that before they print
Notice that.
8 of them.
I
Okay.
personally like the black and white, but if we're not deciding on the color, if we're letting Mr. Goldstein, Mr. Carey decide that, I'm okay with that too. But if you're asking if I had a preference, it would be the black and white.
All right.
I concur
Well-
with you, David.
I like the black and white as well.
I agree, but I'm okay with them deciding.
I just want it spelled right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I concur.
All right, so I guess really, Rashay, I think the motion would be that we approve COA 15-07 amended from the the September 29th hearing date to allow 8 12 by 18 inch signs, including 2 on the north of the marketplace and 6 on the east side of the marketplace building. With the language to read private parking lot, parking for tenants and clients only. All others will be towed at vehicle owner's expense. KRS 189.725. And I guess if it's okay with HRB, we can allow the owners to pick the color that they desire.
That is correct.
All right. Does anyone like to make that in the form of a motion?
I'd like to make that motion, Mayor, if you'd be okay with mine, with the addition of them making the correct spelling on tenants.
And I
Make
think
we
there's
approve
one
it.
other thing we probably should do now that I think our decision is delayed this. I think we gave them 60 days to finish this. So I think we need to amend that 60 days from today's date to complete this project, since we had previously had 60 days back from the hearing.
And Mayor,
I
I
know
think that's my fault, because I think Mr. Carey sent these to me and I thought he was going to send them to Rashay, and he thought I was going to send them to Rashay. And I don't know that anyone realized Rashay hadn't seen them until this week. So,
Right. Well, that's what I mean. We ought to give them 60 days from today to complete this.
I agree.
All right. So we have a motion. Was that Councilman Shekels?
Yes,
And then is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Williams. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, now we've got a whole lot of work's been done by HRB since our last month. So we've got a number of recommendations. So I'll call on Audrey Hayden to read the summary of the recommendations for all of the COAs.
Thank you, Mayor. COA 2162, Casey Willett Van Vactor, applicant owner requests to add signage to the property at 201 East Flagey Avenue. Recommendation: approval to install the proposed signage. COA 2163, Richard McIntyre, applicant owner requests to add signage to the property at 111 North 4th Street. Recommendation: approval to install the proposed signage. COA 2155, BNCAAHM/First Baptist Church, applicant owner requests to add signage to the property at 315 North 2nd Street. Recommendation: approval to install the proposed signage. COA 2138, Vance and Cheryl Marquez, applicant owner requests to sand the roof, repair sections of the roof, and paint the bay window roof a deep charcoal at 415 North 3rd Street. Recommendation: approval to paint the roof color and make the proposed repairs. COA 2177, Melinda Marie Carl, applicant owner requests to replace the siding at 218 West Broadway. Recommendation: approval to replace the siding as proposed in the application. COA 2168, Summer Talbot, applicant owner requests to remove trees at the property at 216 South 3rd Street. Recommendation: approval to remove the trees with the following conditions. Conditions: the landscaping plan will soon follow to be approved by the HRB board. COA 2164, Summer Talbot, applicant owner requests to add fencing and brick columns to the property at 216 South 3rd Street. Recommendation: approval to add the proposed fencing with the following conditions. Conditions: the final details, including the height, mass, scale, look, and design, will be staff approved. COA 2165, Jacob Hall, applicant owner requests to add fencing to the property at 209 West Flagey. Recommendation: approval to add the proposed fencing. COA 2166, Jacob Hall, applicant owner requests to remove trees and replace them at the property at 209 West Flagey. Recommendation: approval to remove the trees and add the basketball goal with the following conditions. Conditions: the final tree numbers, placement, and type of trees will be staff approved. COA 2169, Dan Sutherland, applicant owner requests to add HVAC to the property at 310 South 5th Street. Recommendation: approval to install HVAC with the following conditions. Conditions: the units will be screened with substantial boxwood, which will be staff approved, and the units will be painted a black matte color. COA 2170, Dan Sutherland, applicant owner requests to replace the siding at 310 South 5th Street. Recommendation: approval to install the proposed siding. COA 2171, Dan Sutherland, applicant owner requests to add HVAC to the property at that's the same one, isn't it? I guess it's different. HVAC to the property, at 114 East John Fitch Avenue. Recommendation: approval to install HVAC with the following conditions. Conditions: staff approval of the final placement of the HVAC lines. The units will be screened with substantial landscaping approved by staff, and the unit will be painted a matte black. COA 2134, Demir Sarek, applicant owner requests to add outdoor speakers to the property at 120 North 3rd Street. Recommendation: approval to install the proposed speakers. COA 2135, Demir Sarek, applicant owner requests to install a skylight at 120 North 3rd Street. Recommendation: approval to install the proposed skylight with the following conditions. Conditions: the final materials will be staff approved. COA 2136, Demir Sarek, applicant owner requests to raise the downspout at 120 North 3rd Street. Recommendation, approval to raise the downspout as proposed with the following conditions. Conditions, the mortar substance will be staff approved. The material for the downspout will be staff approved. And if there's a color that is applied to the downspout, that will also be staff approved. COA 2137, Demir Sarek, applicant owner request to raise the awning at 120 North 3rd Street. Recommendation, approval to raise the awning as proposed in the application. COA 2157, Horizon Engineering, applicant owner request to add signage to the property at 115 East Flagey. Recommendation, approval to install the proposed signs. COA 2158, Horizon Engineering, applicant owner request to add parking to the property at 115 East Flagey. Recommendation, approval to add the proposed parking with the following conditions. Conditions, the landscape plan for the area to be approved at staff level. COA 2159, Horizon Engineering, applicant owner request to remove bushes and replace them with new bushes at 115 East Flagey. Recommendation, approval to remove the bushes with the following conditions. Conditions, the landscape plan, material, and number of bushes and foliage will provide sufficient screening to the parking area and will be staff approved. COA 2160, Horizon Engineering, applicant owner request to add railing and replace the proposed stairs to the property at 115 East Flagey. Recommendation, approval to install the railing and replace the stairs as proposed in the application. COA 2161, Horizon Engineering, applicant owner request to add a sidewalk to the property at 115 East Flagey. Recommendation, approval to install the proposed sidewalk with the following conditions. Conditions, the concrete will have a brushed finish to it. COA 2148, Lisa Tatum, applicant owner request to paint the door black at 115 East John Fitch. Recommendation, approval to paint the front door black. COA 2149, Lisa Tatum, applicant owner request to add a glass storm door to the property at 115 East John Fitch. Recommendation, approval to install the proposed glass storm door. COA 2150, Lisa Tatum, applicant owner request to replace a light fixture on the porch at 115 East John Fitch. Recommendation, approval to install the proposed light fixture. COA 2151, Lisa Tatum, applicant owner request to box in the railing at 115 East John Fitch. Recommendation, approval to install the columns with the following conditions. Conditions, that the applicant produce a scaled drawing indicating the material that is specific to the house in this elevation, and this would be staff approved. COA 2152, Lisa Tatum, applicant owner request to add black mulch and 4 boxwood shrubs at 115 East John Fitch. Recommendation, approval to install the proposed landscaping. COA 2153, Lisa Tatum, applicant owner request to replace the roof at 115 East John Fitch. Recommendation, approval to replace the roof with the following conditions. Conditions, the roof will have 16 inches from seam to seam. It will be around a 1-inch seam. The roof will be flat in between the seams and the color will be matte black and not shiny. COA 2154, Lisa Tatum, applicant owner request to remove the metal window awnings, replace double pane storm windows with single pane storm windows, and paint grills and sashes black at 115 East John Fitch. Recommendation, approval to replace the storm windows only with the following conditions. Conditions, the original windows will not be replaced. They will only be repaired. Only the storm windows are being replaced. COA 2139, Sabra and Bill Mattingly, applicant owner request to add a deck to the property at 107 West Muir. Recommendation, approval to install the proposed deck with the following conditions. Conditions, the material that is used for the deck is wood. COA 2140, Sabra and Bill Mattingly, applicant owner request to add a garage to the property at 107 West Muir. Recommendation, approval to add the garage as proposed in the application. COA 2141, Sabra and Bill Mattingly, applicant owner request to add a roof to the garage at 107 West Muir. Recommendation, approval to add the garage roof as proposed in the application. COA 2142, Sabra and Bill Mattingly, applicant owner request to add siding to the garage at 107 West Muir. Recommendation, approval for the siding and brick for the garage as proposed in the application with the following conditions. Conditions, the final material will be staff approved. COA 2143, Sabra and Bill Mattingly, applicant owner request to add gutters to the garage at 107 West Muir. Recommendation, approval to install the proposed gutters to the garage as presented in the application. COA 2145, Sabra and Bill Mattingly, applicant owner request to add a door and garage doors to the garage at 107 West Muir. Recommendation, approval to install the doors for the garage with the following conditions. Conditions, the final door designs will be staff approved. COA 2146, Sabra and Bill Mattingly, applicant owner request to extend the driveway and a concrete pad to the garage at 107 West Muir. Recommendation, approval to extend the driveway and concrete pad as proposed in the application. There are 2 that were provisionally approved, staff approved. COA 2156, Penn and Brenda Bogart, applicant owner request to do masonry work to a brick milk house to the property at 201 South 1st Street. The repair is in kind. Recommendation, approval to make the proposed in-kind repairs to the brick milk house. COA 2167 and Rosalie Ballard, applicant owner requests to add 3 panels of fencing to the property at 204 West Flagey. Recommendation, approval to extend the fence as proposed in the application.
Okay, thank you, Audrey. I don't know if this is the most we ever had, but it's close. I think it's almost 40 of them, I think. I believe Councilman Williams and Councilman Shekels, you all may want to recuse from COA 21-55. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Or
Yes,
any of
we
the
can-
other-
We can
any of the
abstain.
other- I'm sorry, Bill, what was that?
I said, we can abstain. It's no problem.
Okay. Any other council members need to recuse from any of the other COAs? All right, so if we could, I would take up a motion then, COA-21-55. I think that's the Bardstown Nelson County African American Heritage Museum, is that correct?
That's correct.
You got it all right.
And First Baptist Church for their signage, so I need a motion.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
A motion by Councilman Hibbs, is there a second?
Second,
I'll
Mayor.
second, Mayor.
I think David Jones, I believe, is on the second there. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion's carried. There was no conditions on that one. Then I would ask for a motion for the balance of all the COAs and recommendations with conditions to be approved as presented.
So moved, Mayor.
And a motion by Councilwoman Hart, is there a second?
I'll second that, sir.
All right, second by Councilman Buckman. Any other discussion? Seeing none, then all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, like sign. All right, all those COAs then are approved this evening. Okay. Let's get back to the agenda. Everyone had a chance to review the minutes from our April 13th meeting. If we have, then we can approve them unless there's any corrections or additions, approve them by unanimous consent. All right, thank you. Next, we have a first reading on B2021-04. It's chapter 35 of our employment policies. I would ask Greg Ashworth if he would maybe just give us some background on this. This is the first reading, but maybe give us a background.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. All this is we've been trying to hire a grounds maintenance superintendent since about, I don't know, November, December of last year. We've been unable to get a qualified applicant for that position. So we decided to change the allotted positions to 0 for that one and change the maintenance worker for the rec department to 3. That way we could hire somebody, train them up, and then promote them to the ground maintenance superintendent after that. We have several applications that we like for the maintenance worker, but they really don't fit into the superintendent position. So we're going to hire one of those individuals, train them up for a couple years, and then promote them to the ground maintenance superintendent.
Okay. Then if I could, this is a first reading. I need someone to introduce ordinance B2021-04 and have our city attorney read it, please.
Mayor, I'd be happy to introduce ordinance B2021-04 and ask our city attorney to read it in full, please.
Thank
Can
you.
I ask the question first?
Sure.
If we're eventually going to have a grounds maintenance superintendent, would it not be okay to just leave that classification right there, and instead of having to come back later and redo this?
Well, we left the classification in place, Mayor Shekels. We just changed the number of allotted people to 0. Because if you left it at 1, then technically you could hire a superintendent and a maintenance worker, 3 maintenance worker. But we left the position in place and just changed that number of allotted people for that position to 0.
Okay, so if and when you do.
Yes, we'll just change it back to 1.
Okay, good enough. Okay, this question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Bill. Any other questions? All right, Audrey, you want to go ahead and?
Thank you. Yes, Mayor. Ordinance B2021-04, an ordinance amending and adopting as amended, an ordinance creating the classification and compensation plan. The City Council of the City of Bardstown, Kentucky does hereby ordain that the following amendments be made to Chapter 35, Employment Policies of the City of Bardstown's Municipal Code of Ordinances in the Parks and Recreation Department. Number of positions, strike 1, add 2, title Grounds Maintenance Superintendent, grade 109. Number of positions, strike 2, add 3, title Maintenance Worker 2, rec, grade 104. All ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect immediately upon its passage, approval, and publication as required by law.
All right, thank you, Audrey. This will be a second reading at our next meeting. We'll ask, I'd like to ask someone if they would introduce ordinance number B2021-05. And we'll have, as it deals with Chapter 53 of the wastewater here in the city, and we'll have Jessica give us some overview of that after we read it, if we could.
Mayor, if I may be in order, I'd like to introduce ordinance number B2021-05 and have our city attorney read its summary, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ordinance number B2021-05, an ordinance amending and adopting as amended an ordinance relating to Chapter 53 wastewater of the City of Bardstown's Code of Ordinances. The City Council of the City of Bardstown, Kentucky does hereby ordain that the following amendments be made to Chapter 53 wastewater, Section 53.119 truckers' discharge fees of the City of Bardstown's Municipal Code of Ordinances. Chapter 53 subsection 119 truckers' discharge fees. The annual fee for a sewer trucker's discharge permit is $100. Truckers who haul septic tank sludge and dump in the city system shall be charged strike $16, add $78 per load for up to 1,000 gallons, and strike $1.60, add $7.80 per 100 gallons for all over 1,000 gallons per load. All trucks shall be considered to be fully loaded for the purpose of assessing charges. All ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect immediately upon its passage, approval, and publication as required by law.
Okay, thank you, Audrey. As you can see, there's quite a bit of information that's been provided showing how we compare to these other cities, but I would ask Jessica Pilatro, our city engineer, if she would want to kind of give us some overview of where we've been and where we are today with this recommendation. Is Jessica with us this evening? I'm not in the same room.
Mayor, I see her, but I don't think we can hear her.
All right. We'll give her a moment. Maybe we can get that technical issue straightened out.
Okay, I'll come into Lisa's office.
Okay, we're starting to hear.
All right, I'm in Lisa's office now. Hopefully everyone can see me now and
Yeah, we
hear
can
me.
see and hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you for your patience. Just wanted to follow up. This is a fee for septic haul loads that we receive into the wastewater treatment plant for treatment. We haven't really addressed this fee since 2011 when we did some improvements to the septic loading station that most people may or may not be familiar with. They're kind of across from Boone's Butcher Shop, not far from our water station off of Oak Bloomfield Pike. And the reason we've kind of over time provided some additional information about the number of loads that we're seeing are really climbing. And after the improvements at the plant this past year, where we added the micro screens, we've always been able to see the impact of that high volume of septic loads, but we've also had those increased costs to collecting those solids. Those septic systems tend to have much higher rated waste. That's why those tanks are needing to be pumped. They're no longer operating and functioning properly. So they're generally really heavily loaded with BOD and TSS, and it's creating, we have to haul that off site when it's collected in those screens and take that to the landfill. So we've got maintenance costs, plus since we can't receive those waste streams at the plant, we have to have one of two employees, is all we have at the Town Creek facility, drive to that location, inspect the load, witness the load, and then drive back. So it's not as convenient for us. We try to keep that service available. But as you can see, we kind of did that breakdown, and I was wanting to propose this rate increase last March, but obviously with 2020 and so many folks being stuck at home and doing school from home, I didn't feel like it was the right time to address this rate at that time. So I'm revisiting that now. And as you can see, this does put us competitive with other communities of our size in our neighboring area. So again, this is just going to be this kind of what it costs for us to provide this service to this group of folks.
And if I'm reading this right, Jessica, it looks like our operating loss for treating that loads was $38,000 in 2020. Is that what I'm seeing here?
If you look at our O&M costs and our personnel costs and just the additional loading and that trend for the number of loads we're seeing, we were definitely losing money on this, not addressing this rate. It's one of those things that I don't think about often, and Eric Walker, who is our chief operator at the Town Creek facility, kind of came to me last year and said, when was the last time we looked at this? And said, you know, you're right, we really need to take another look. And we did the cost of service analysis and looked at the rates. And again, we didn't want to do this. This is a big jump for those folks. But again, that's why we did the survey and wanted to make sure, what do other people charge? One thing also that we provide as a nice service to, we receive loads on the weekends, which is also, our plant's not open on the weekends, but we have lift station specialists who travel around to all the stations on Saturdays. And whenever there's a hauler coming needing to dump a load, a lot of those guys, when they, kind of go and pump those tanks out, they will meet them at the dump site. So they have to sometimes wait on us. But again, we're at other ends of the county, and we come so that these haulers can empty their loads on a Saturday. And I don't know that there's anybody else really that accepts non-Monday through Friday, during work hours. So again, trying to provide some flexibility and a good service to our residents. But again, it's just.
And this is the first change in rate proposed since, you said 2011, so it's been 10 years?
Correct.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions of Jessica? This is a first reading. Okay, thank you, Jessica. We'll need you to stick around for our executive session as well.
Will do.
All right, we'll move on then to any other reports from the staff or committees this evening? Okay. On new business, we have a mobile food vendor by the name of Pappy's. He's applying for his city license and then also has identified one particular location that he plans to serve. I'll ask Gary Little if he has anything to add to this in terms of if everything's in line here.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Yeah, the application is complete and he's already spoken with Jan at Planning and Zoning. I think his intention is just to set up at Lux Row on their special event Saturdays that they have. He's from Campbellsville. It's a new startup from last fall, but he's never set up in Bardstown. So, but his application looks good. So it's ready for a vote.
Okay.
Or if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, anyone on the council have any questions? I think there's pictures of his vehicle and also all of his state applications and so forth seem to be in order.
Mayor, I'll make a recommendation to approve the mobile vendor application for Pappy's. All his paperwork and insurance forms and health certificates seem to be in order.
All right, we have a motion to approve the application for Pappy's mobile food vendor application. Is there a second?
I'll second, Mayor.
All right, second by Councilman Williams. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any opposed? All right, thank you. All right, I'm gonna have to call on Shay to walk us through this campus master sign plan for Heaven Hill. There's a whole lot to this. I hope she can give us kind of the Cliff Note version of it this evening.
Yes, I can, Mayor. So Heaven Hill is proposing a few new signs, and then a few of them are incidental signs that are quite small, and then like around 5 square feet. And then they have 2 larger signs, one of which is 64 inches high, and it's 17.75 square feet. And the second one is 77 inches high, or 40.5 square feet. And just as a reference with this, with our normal guidelines, with 7 feet in height, we normally allow 50 square feet. So these are within the normal guidelines for signage anyway. So there's no special provision or anything that would be accepted with that. With the incidental signs, we normally allow around 4 square feet. These are 5 square feet. So they are perfectly within reason as well. So I see no problem in approving all of them.
The incidental, I think, are you referring, those are more of the directional signs and
yes,
entry and exit and those kind of things?
Yes, that's correct. The difference is they have their logo and the name on them. Yeah.
Right. And then some of the larger signs looks like they're just updating what's already there from what I could see.
That's correct.
Is there any, so I guess when you as a sign administrator is recommending approval of this application?
I do recommend approval, Mayor.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions of Rashay on any of the changes and additions to, as I say, some of this is already currently there, and as you can tell, most of this is being driven, or a lot of it's being driven by their expanded visitor center and additions out there, and then also signage to help keep people from overlapping their production side of their business with the hospitality side of the business. All right, there's no other questions. I've asked for a motion to approve the campus master sign plan application on behalf of Heaven Hill from Solid Light as presented.
So moved, Mayor.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Hart. Is there a second?
Second that, Mayor.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you. The campus sign plans applications approved. Next, we have a municipal order M 2021-03. It's for a tax moratorium at 505 North 3rd. I guess we need to have our city attorney read that for us and then ask for a motion for approval.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Municipal Order Number M 2021-03. A municipal order accepting the application for a tax assessment moratorium certificate for the property located at 505 North 3rd Street, Bardstown, Kentucky. Be it ordered by the City Council of the City of Bardstown, Kentucky, Section 1, that the application for assessment moratorium certificate for the property located at 505 North 3rd Street, Bardstown, Kentucky is hereby accepted, and further expressing the city's intent to grant an assessment moratorium to the owner of said property upon compliance with the city's property assessment and reassessment moratoriums as defined in KRS Chapter 99, subsection 595 and following sections. Section 2, that this order shall take effect and be in full force when passed and recorded according to law.
Thank you, Audrey. Does anyone have any questions on this? I would ask for someone to make a motion for approval of municipal order number N 2021-03 as presented.
So move, Mayor.
All right, motion by Councilman Williams. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Councilman Hibbs. Any other
Downs.
discussion?
Councilman Doan, sir.
What was that?
It was
Downs.
Councilman Downs, Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Any other discussion on this one? All right, I'd ask for a motion then. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Municipal order M 2021-3 is approved. We have another one. Let's see. I guess that's the only one we have right now. Okay. Next, we have city council members' comments. Anyone have anything to bring before the council this evening? Okay. Next, we have some cemetery deeds. Sierra Borders, purchase of one grave site. Anita Lawler, purchase of one grave site. And James Goatley, purchase of two grave sites. We approved them by unanimous consent. All right, as far as the mayor's update, I don't have a lot this evening. Lincoln Trail Health Department does have a vaccine, drive-through vaccine tomorrow at our fairgrounds. I don't know right now if there's any reservations available, but in the past there has been. So if anybody's out there listening this evening or watching that would like to check, they could just go on the Lincoln Trail Health Department website and see about whether they might have some vaccines available for tomorrow. And just to, again, encourage everyone to take advantage of these mobile drive-throughs. They work very well out to the fairgrounds. And then also, again, reminding everyone that it seems to be that almost all our pharmacies here in the community are now set up for vaccines. So take advantage of those. Check with findingvaccine.org and you'll probably find that there are vaccines available. So we really want to encourage everybody to get vaccine and help us get back to normal. And then, as you might know, yesterday, Governor Beshear announced some changes in some of the outdoor restrictions. And also, I haven't personally seen them today or heard from, but I also had heard that the president also was going to make an announcement related to recommendations on dealing with the pandemic. So with that being said, I know myself as well as some of you members of the council, we're all interested on when we might be able to go back to in-person meetings. And I think in talking to Greg Ashworth, our HR person, I think we want to continue to watch the governor for changes in the restrictions, the mandated restrictions, as well as what's coming from the CDC. And we're hoping that over the course of the next month, perhaps it'll be such that there might be some changes that would allow us to get back in person. I do think, speaking maybe for us as a council and the mayor, I think most of us that are part of these meetings, at least from the city side of things, have been vaccinated. So I think we're in pretty good shape there, but obviously when you've got media and potential members of the community that might come, I think we still need to rely on some guidance from the governor's office and CDC on how to properly handle in-person meetings. The other side of that is it might be okay to start having the meetings, but with the requirement may still be in place for masks. I kind of worry a little bit about how well we could verbally communicate the business with mask on, and how well that might be shared, video with our media partners, and also for our staff to correctly interpret the discussion for the minutes. So I think that's one concern. If we can meet in person without the mask requirements, I think that would help us do our business in a much more orderly fashion. But I would like to hear if from the council members, if any of you all, those that think this is a good idea, and or if any of you still might have some concerns or not.
Mayor, I agree with you on one thing for sure, that it's sometimes very difficult to get your message across with the mask on, and it's a lot harder to hear, I believe. I think we just saw, a few of us went to a meeting the other night. It was very difficult to understand what people were saying because of that. Other than that, I would be okay with meeting in person again, but that's my only concern is the mask.
Thank you, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Any other council members have anything they'd like to share?
I would concur with Councilman Buckman.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I don't have a problem meeting in person. I've gone to basketball games, I've gone to volleyball matches, other things, so I don't have a problem.
All right, thank you, Coach.
I'm excited to get back to in-person too, Mayor.
All right, thank you.
Mayor, I guess the only question becomes, I think as far as the council on the city side of it is, like you have stated earlier, most all of us have been vaccinated. I guess the problem would lie, as you said, with media and members of the community. Is there a way that you can do a hybrid meeting? And I don't know if this is possible. Can we do a televised meeting with us, with the city in person, and then possibly have a member of the media that may have to be masked? But can we handle it that way?
Well, that's a very good question, David. And Greg, and I might ask you to maybe pipe in here on that, since you've been really keeping up on all this stuff. That might be something that Greg could look into, as well as all the other things he's keeping up with in this regard.
From
Greg,
an open,
what's your thoughts?
Mayor, I can just chime in real quick. From an open meeting standpoint, that is possible. We have to name a physical, there's a technical term, but, a physical primary location for the meeting. and then how we would make it available to those who are not, you know, in the location. So I do think that we could, the logistics might be a little tricky to figure out at first, but I believe that's possible.
Well, and I think, yeah, go ahead, Greg.
So you can do a meeting with just the council over in the council's chambers. I think that they have that set up now to where you guys can meet, and it would broadcast on YouTube for the public to watch. But I would just like to add that you would have to wear a mask. So the governor did say that you can unmask as long as you're outside, right, for less than 1,000 people. As long as you're inside, you still have to wear a mask, whether you're at work or in the council chambers. And I would also like to add that a lot of times when you're talking through a mask and our employees are trying to transcribe whatever is said in the council meeting, it gets kind of hard and gets kind of muffled. So, I mean, you might want to take that into consideration too when you, whenever you decide whether you're going to start meeting in person or not. But if you do decide to meet in person, you would still have to wear a mask until the governor, and he reiterated that yesterday in his meeting, that if you are inside, you still have to wear a mask at work.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Greg. I guess the point here is I think we're all anxious to try to be able to do this, but we want to be able to do it in a way that's not just convenient, but also one that is effective on conducting our meetings, and also for people to understand us, and we in turn be able to understand the other people who are part of the meeting. So I would just commit to you all this evening that Greg and I will continue to monitor this along with Audrey. And when we maybe hear a change in the restrictions regarding masks, that might be the tipping point that might make this the most practical time to make the change. So we'll keep you all in the loop. Just wanted you all to know that we have been having discussions about it and trying to move in that direction. Anyone have anything else to add to that? Okay. Then, as I announced earlier, we will need a motion to go into executive session pursuant to 61-8101G, discussions between a public agency and a representative of a business entity, and discussions concerning a specific proposal if open discussion would jeopardize the siting, retention, expansion, or upgrading of the business. I need a motion to go out of regular session and go into executive session.
Mayor, I'll make the motion to move into executive session, please.
All right, we have a motion by Councilman Jones. Is there a second? So we're now back. We've had a motion to come out of executive session. We're back into regular session. Let the record show that there was no official action taken during our executive session, and there is nothing, no motions to be made or any votes to be taken on this project this evening. So with that being said, I'd ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Buckman. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Councilman Shekels. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. All right, thank you all.